Hey guys, welcome to the RoundTable, episode 75. I'm Jenny Walker, the social media ministry leader here at Life Church, and this is Mike Hill, our lead pastor.
And
our special guest.
Yeah, I was going to say the other time before, like you don't say it, and then I say it, and then you say I took your glory.
Yeah.
From taking away.
Well, I'm not going to say that this time. Special guest. You should announce him. I know Michael, but I forget your last name. Hold on. Schroll.
It's on his shirt.
Schroll.
It's on his shirt.
Okay, well, I knew that.
Schroll Farms.
Schroll.
And I should introduce him because
he's your
he's
your brother-in-law.
Father-in-law.
His brother-in-law.
That would be bad.
yes.
That would be really weird.
Hey, I got something before we get going into this. So how much are you into Halloween?
None.
Are you, Michael? Like, are you into the Halloween thing?
Yeah, I do kind of like Halloween.
Yeah, so like you guys dress up and do all this stuff.
Why? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Well, again, so I'm an this is what Sarah hates. Like, I'm an anti all holidays. So like
all holidays?
I hate Christmas.
That's
sure.
weird.
Huh?
Not me.
So I hate Christmas.
Why?
Well, so here's the reason for Christmas. So
Which
I love the
shouldn't be because you're a pastor.
Well, Jesus wasn't born on the 25th anyway.
Okay, fair.
Oh, he wasn't?
Right, Nick?
He wasn't?
No. Like, our fact checker should get it. There's really nothing in Scripture that says he was born on the 25th, and probably most people would say that he was born in the spring. But what Christian church did is they took Christian holidays and put them around pagan holidays. And so the whole like St. Nicholas thing was a pagan thing that then they came in and said, well, we're going to celebrate Jesus to offset pagan holidays. So whatever, so it's not even really the celebration of Jesus's birth anyway on the 25th. So that's one thing that drives me crazy. The other thing is I said, you know what? It's Christmas all year long with these stupid kids. I said, you want to know why the Goodwill thing is not outside of Goodwill anymore?
Wait, it's not?
On most of the Goodwills. When you go around, why do you think most of the Goodwills and Salvation Armies don't put that box out there anymore?
Because people leave their junk by
it. So they pile all their crap in it. How could we have this much crap? This is why. Because we buy people stuff they don't need.
Yes, that is true.
So just because it's Christmas, you go out there and buy them stuff. I'm like, did they not already have a pair of jeans? Did they not already have a shirt? Did they not already have shoes? Do they really need gifts? And at the end of the day, then you have closets that are too full.
Yeah.
Laundry that stays out. Like, there's too much stuff. So I'm like, why do we do this? And it used to be I had to do 10 get-togethers. Like 10 get-togethers.
10?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I remember going through that.
And you get together with people that you never talk to.
Yeah.
Like, you never talk to them. And you get together like, oh, it's so good to see you. Like, I never see you all year, but it's great to get together and waste an entire Saturday sitting around a table with somebody that I don't care about or that I spend any time with at all.
Okay, but why 10?
And we have to,
Why 10?
Oh, there's just like...
The thing is, though, Mike, that's not all totally true. I mean...
Which part?
Well, sometimes
call him out.
You know what?
Get him, brother-in-law.
Sometimes I don't even get a chance to see people until a Christmas holiday.
Yeah, and you like that part.
Yeah,
see, that's why you're good.
It gives me a reason to get to see people.
Yeah,
so that's why you are a better man than me. So
I wouldn't say that.
No, this is I would say
you know me well enough to know I'm not a real good man.
No, but the point is that's the case. So see, the bad side of me is that I have 1,000 relationships with tons of people right here, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That I work to keep up on, right? And that I try to work hard to keep up on. And then it gets to this place where, honestly, see him, not see him, I'm like, if I didn't see you, this is what's terrible. So if I didn't see you for the next 5 years, I don't really care.
You don't care.
It doesn't make me any difference.
Oh my gosh.
Is that bad?
Even though you had a relationship with him before?
With who?
I don't think I'm like that, but
yeah, I'm not like that.
I'll just give you an example. So
Mike,
Sarah asked me
you're
this.
a bad person.
Listen, I'm not disagreeing with you.
We should have a game.
Sarah,
Does this make me a bad person?
one time I was talking about my brother and sister. And Sarah's like, you have a
Your
brother and sister?
You
have a brother and sister? I'm like, yeah.
I've never heard you talk about
When's the last time you've seen him?
No, he doesn't.
Sherry's funeral. When's the last time you saw him before that? I don't know, maybe 2 years, 3 years.
What's the age difference between you guys?
My brother's 2 years older than me, and my sister is probably 4 years younger than me.
Oh my, that's pretty close.
Or like, just as an example, like my dad, so my dad, I mean, he only lived an hour away, and I didn't even see him. I'd probably go 2 years and not see him.
Wow.
So I'm like, for the people that I'm in relationship with, and I don't really think that much about why. Like, here's an example. Just because they're my flesh and blood, do I have to be in relationship with them?
Feels like you do sometimes.
I don't think morally you have to, but usually those are the people that'll help you out when you're when you're in a bad situation.
Very true.
No.
Yeah.
See, you just got a different family than me. Then
that's the way I always felt.
Here would be my guess. My guess would be is that right now, if I would take flesh and blood, now outside of you guys, now that I'm in this family, but outside of that, flesh and blood compared to my men's group or compared to you and Zach, I guarantee you, if I called people from my men's group or you guys, I would get a much faster response than I would from somebody that's my flesh and blood.
Well, that's probably true because that's where you spent your time. That's where you built your relationships.
Right.
So that is probably true.
Yeah.
But you don't feel close to your brother or anything because genetically you're kind of close. Your brothers.
Like genetically we came from the same mom.
Yeah, you share some things.
Well, I don't know.
It's a different bond.
I mean,
so your
Yeah,
so you guys are different. Like you guys do everything together.
Oh, they do?
Like every Sunday.
We don't always agree
Really?
with each other.
No, but the point is
That's different. That's different.
every Sunday the Schrolls have somebody hosts a family thing, and they all go to each other's house.
That's really
cool.
They
all hang out. They all talk.
It's a small family.
I know, but you do that.
My parents had 4 kids, and we all lived close.
Small.
And it's not like we're out. It's not like parts of the family outside of that come. It's not like my mom's siblings come or my dad's siblings come.
The immediate family.
Yeah, it's just the immediate family, but that's how we keep up. And of course, we all had kids about the same time.
Yeah, so they all hang out together.
That's
they're all friends.
That's so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, it is fun. So, I mean, I guess my perspective is different than yours.
Yeah, and again, mine always, like when we moved over here, so we moved and it was only an hour and a half away, but there was this so around Christmas or the things that are around here or what was going on around here, we had lots of people that we were doing stuff with. And then there was this okay, I got to drive back to Adams County and I'm going to do a Christmas with people that I don't have any investment in. I don't talk to them throughout the year. I don't anything other than just this kind of conversation. And I've always said my family is not just flesh and blood. I consider people that are close to me. Like I would consider Tad Eads as family. Like if I called Tad, he would drop whatever he's doing to come and help me. Right. And that's how I determine family. I don't determine family by flesh and blood. I determine family based upon what I consider a relational connection that family exhibits. So what Michael just said, their family happens to have both.
Right.
Flesh and blood, and it exhibits that they would help each other. But not all families are that way.
Because yours wasn't. When you grew up and you didn't have a relationship necessarily with them, even like back then.
It just wasn't the thing. Like, when I grew up, I was 15 and, I was with Sherry and I was never home and, I got close to her family, but it still wasn't the same. Like Again, when I came over here, I experienced family like I've never experienced it before. One is because I was forced to. So one of the problems with close families is they don't have anybody outside their family. Like they don't know anybody out. Like they don't create a bond with people outside of their family because they have everything inside of it.
That's true. And that's I notice that with us sometimes. And yeah, I don't think that's necessarily right or good, really. So you need to look outside.
So we were forced to do that. And so so I'm not saying that that's bad,
right.
But I was saying, I was forced. And some of my closest friends are what I would consider brothers. I have no flesh and blood connection. But honestly, if I ask if something was going on when Sherry got sick, the people that showed up in my house were not my family.
Yeah, that's sad.
They weren't. I mean, they were the people that from this church, men from this church that I considered brothers.
No, that's great. That's good. I mean, that's good.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So again, it's a
that's
perspective.
just a different kind of family.
Right. So it's just perspective, right or wrong.
Yeah.
It doesn't. So when it comes to the whole and you know me, I don't think you should just do things to do things. So you're just getting together just because.
Yeah.
And
no
honestly,
purpose.
they don't even like each other. There are people in the family don't even like each other, but they'll sit across the table and fake it.
Yeah, that's
And
annoying.
I'm like, I don't want to fake it. So
then you might as well not do it.
Yeah,
Right.
so for me, that's why. But
It's just
it was
different
so funny.
circumstances.
And then the Halloween thing was, so you remember me telling the story about Lacey Primer.
I will never
right?
forget that story.
Yeah, so, that story changed my perspective on Halloween.
So
right?
was it different before then?
So
Completely
when the
different?
kids were little, they all trick-or-treated, and it wasn't a big deal.
You let
and
them?
none of that. Yeah, I mean, that wasn't. But when you started to get into the occult, and then Lacey ended up hanging herself,
Yeah.
on
I remember
Halloween
that
night.
story now. Now that you mentioned that, I remember that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it put a
Talking
whole
about
different
that.
perspective on it for me. And it doesn't mean that it's right or wrong and that I'm against other people doing it. It's just perspective. But it's funny. This is the reason I was telling it, though. So if you drive down 300, okay, because Sarah and I tried to convince Sarah to leave the toilet that we ripped out of the house on my front porch.
Yeah.
Oh, did you decorate
So
it?
that I could sit on it while people drove by and just see what people.
Yeah.
Are you doing that?
So I said,
my
please
gosh.
leave the
Because
toilet.
he has gawkers.
Yes,
Road
He
trip.
has
16
gawkers.
or whatever road I'm on, 300.
Yeah, 300,
They call it
yeah.
Servia something road.
Servia Legro.
Yeah, so people drive down it all the time and they're rubbernecking. So we pulled this toilet out and it sat on the front porch. And it looked the hillbilliest thing ever, but I loved it. So I said, leave it there because I'm going to go out and get a paper and I'm going to sit on the toilet and act like my pants are down and look, see how many people would drive by because I think the rubberneckers are
Why not?
hilarious.
Oh, yeah, the
Why
word's going to get
pretend?
around.
Well, I mean, you may as well use
My
it if it's out
gosh.
there.
Yeah, so Sarah, so at the end of the day, Sarah's like, as soon as she got a hold of the tractor, grabbed the toilet from the front porch, threw it in the tractor, and put it in the dumpster.
Dang
She
it.
put a stop
ruined
to
the
She
it.
put a stop to
fun.
it.
She shut
But
that
the
down.
other night,
What happened?
Ethan says, hey, when we're going down 300, that house that has a 4-car garage, drive by it really slow.
didn't know
So
it
I'm
was you?
driving by this house on 300, and I look over. Here's this skeleton
Oh, I thought it
that's
was you.
like 8 feet tall. And you know how these guys take these bowl balls and hang them on the back of their
Yes.
truck?
Was he holding
So they
them?
hung it on the middle of the
Oh my
skeleton.
gosh. Somebody's got a good sense of
So
humor.
there's this huge
That's right.
skeleton with this huge ball sack.
Oh my.
I'm like, Sarah,
Wow.
we have got to do that at the house. Like, we got to do something so we can get people to.
It's going to be hard to beat that.
Yeah,
I know.
We'll never be anything like
I
it.
don't
With
know.
the
The live
sack.
scene right there was pretty cool.
Either way, I just think it's funny because a lot of people, the decorations, like it's funny to go around and look
they
at people's
decorate for Halloween like they decorate for Christmas.
Yeah,
right,
they do.
Right. Yeah. So I was just curious. Are you guys? Are you into that? Like, do you guys decorate?
I decorate for fall.
Okay.
Yes.
But I don't really decorate much for Halloween. Number
Okay.
one, it's expensive to buy the stuff. And,
Right.
and number two, I don't think that the holiday deserves as much attention as Christmas or Easter or any of the other ones.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
why
I
you
think
shouldn't.
it
That's
should
why you
just
don't
be
put out
fun.
Christmas lights
Yeah.
either. Why put out Christmas lights?
No,
Well,
definitely
we
put out Christmas
lights, but that's because we like it. It doesn't necessarily mean Jesus said, "Hey, just go buy your kids presents and put Christmas lights on a tree and put it in your living room."
I think he did say that in
No,
Romans.
I know.
It
I
did
just
say that?
I think so.
It may have
Yeah.
said that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you would think that the way people buy Christmas lights. See, I always tried to convince. I read a book, and this book talks about all of the Chinese people that are held because of Christianity. It's like they get captured and put into prison. You know what their job is?
Yeah, to make the Christmas
yeah.
lights.
Make
I read
Christmas
about
lights.
this.
Yeah.
Make Christmas lights. And
How ironic.
So I
Right.
kept
I
saying,
know.
Sherry, this is the reason why we should never put up Christmas lights. So she would buy boxes of them. To this day, if you go out into our party barn, there's probably 4 tubs full of Christmas lights.
That's right. 'cause
She
I
just
needed
buys them,
some
and
a while
she's like,
ago.
put them up. I'm like, I ain't putting them up. You'll put them up. I'm like, I ain't putting them up.
Did you put them up?
No, there's still 4 boxes of unopened Christmas lights in
Wow.
our
Well,
house.
our rule is if you put them up, you have to take them down.
Take them down.
Yeah.
So you put them up?
No. If it was up to me, there probably would never be any.
Okay. So who does the decorating? So who does the decorating?
Kim, my daughter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. She does the house?
My kids will do the house.
The outside of the house?
Yeah, they'll do the porch.
Listen,
They'll do the porch
his
and
daughter
stuff.
had a Halloween party. I mean, and she went all out.
Yeah.
How old
it
is
was
she?
cool.
16.
Whoa.
Yeah, she's got her license this year. So,
Yeah, I mean, she had it all decorated, people down. They have these trails you walk through. Like they had a.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. She is pretty impressive.
So she's your oldest one?
Yeah.
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 I'm pretty proud of her.
Okay, so
yeah.
again, Michael, part of the podcast, we want people to get to know you. So tell us a little bit about you growing up, a little bit about your life, your family, and, we'll kind of go from there. So tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I grew up in rural North Manchester.
Did you go to North Manchester?
Yeah, I went to Manchester.
Was there one high school?
One high school in Manchester.
Small? Is that a small town?
So they have Manchester,
not as small as
Northfield.
Wabash.
It's a little bit bigger.
Yeah, it's bigger than Northfield now.
Like, how many people did you graduate with?
I would
like 100.
Yeah, I was going to say 100. Just to guess. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't know exactly.
You want to know what one of the coolest things about Michael is?
What?
He's carrying on I don't know how many generation of a dairy farm.
Really?
So the first thing that
we're dairy farmers.
Yeah. So when I first got to know Sarah, I walked into her garage and I'm like, is there a reason somebody's coveralls is hanging in your garage? And so these coveralls are from your dad's dad.
Correct.
Something like that. It's coveralls from when he was a dairy farmer. And there's these pictures.
He always wore those coveralls.
Yeah. And so it's like a memento thing. And so, so it's cool because Michael's carrying on is the third or fourth generation of being a dairy farmer.
Did you notice how small those coveralls were? He was a small man in stature. I mean, he was little. You look at the Schrolls now; we're big people.
Yeah, you guys evolved, so that's what you believe. You believe in evolution,
but I do not believe in evolution. That is a lie.
You evolved. If somebody took those Carhartts and put them beside you, they would believe in evolution.
No, oh my gosh, we should.
It's called a tall family marrying a short family.
How did that happen? Because your mom's not tall.
Nutrition had a lot to do with that too. We eat a lot better than they did.
Wheaties. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. So was it back in the day, like with the glass bottles? Like the glass milk bottles when they had to come?
You still go to their house if you go to their mom and dad's house for the Sunday night thing, she still has milk stuff in a glass bottle.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Like when they would take it
milk.
with you. Like when they would take it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like fresh, probably.
Yeah. Like they just went to the cow and went like that.
Wow.
Yeah,
no, I'm kidding.
You can't do that?
He used to milk cows in the opposite side of the barn that I milked cows in growing up. And then we added on to that, added a parlor 12 years ago. So 10, 11 years ago, so we could continue milking. But
this is a milk fact though, right? Like you can't really drink milk out of the...
Yes, you can.
I was about to say.
But doesn't it have somebody say back if it's not pasteurized, something happens?
Okay, so some people, it will make their stomachs upset. And I'm one of those people.
Like if you drink unpasteurized milk.
Yeah, if I drink unpasteurized milk, it will make me sick.
Does it taste any? I want to do that.
It doesn't. It probably does taste a little different, but that's mostly because it's probably never been against a plastic jug or anything that flavors
and that would make
milk.
it taste different.
Yeah, well, it's somewhat creamier too.
Does it come out warm?
I think so.
Yeah, it comes out warm.
Does milk out of a cow?
Because the cow's body temperature is 105. So
but the only way, what's cool is if you go through and see their brown cows and then see the chocolate milk come out compared
that's
to...
so cool. Strawberry milk. You have strawberry
that's where it all comes from. Not very many of them. Not very many of those.
They're rare.
But it's funny is how many people believe that.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't want to interrupt but that is it is cool generationally. And then, the whole go back to your roots type stuff and you're carrying it on.
And you have a son?
Yeah.
And is he expected or is your daughter?
Is
it like the firstborn kind of thing?
I don't want to put that on him. Yeah, I have a son. He's our youngest, but
you don't expect that?
He can do whatever he wants.
Aw, that's sweet.
I hope he does.
But is that so? Growing up in it, is that how you felt, or do you feel an obligation to take it over?
Well, I always liked it.
Okay.
So it was kind of natural for me. Now,
because you're the oldest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think in general, me and my brother, we both liked farming. We were both like totally 110% into it.
Zach milked cows?
Yeah, he did for a while.
So he's a farmer too?
Yeah, he is.
He's a grain farmer.
A grain farmer? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, we were 100% into it back then. And so it was kind of a natural thing that we just kind of rolled into.
Well, so I want to get a perspective from you. So one of the things that people talk about today is like in raising your kids, right? So raising your kids on a farm is different than raising your kids outside of a farm, right? Like that's
probably the biggest benefit of farming is being able to raise your kids on a farm. All right. That's just a huge benefit.
Yeah. And so what do you think? What do they benefit? Like, how is it for your kids where you could see, like, this is the big difference that I see in kids that are raised on a farm?
When they work with their parents, they learn how to work. Okay. When they see their parents work like that, they realize that, work is part of life. Life's not trying to get by and just please yourself. You actually have to work for that stuff. And they also build skills and they learn how to be efficient with things. Mm-hmm. And they also have a greater respect, I think, for other people and animals and everything, just because when you're out there and you're doing it every day and you're seeing that, it's a lot different than just being at a babysitter. Not that you have any choice in a lot of places, but I just think that, they pick up on things that we're doing easier and quicker, and they get it. They have a different perspective. Plus, the activity, I think, is good for them in the outdoors and the clean air and whatnot.
Yeah, so again, back to this whole idea, because one of the things we're going to continue to talk about in this podcast at Life Church is generationally, we think we got to figure things out, right? So there is a generational shift in young people, right? And we're trying to figure out how can the church be a part of helping with it? But how much, regardless of whether it's being on a farm or if it's anything, how important is it for a parent to come alongside of their child to teach them things in life compared to somebody else teaching them what to do? Does that make sense? So in the farming lifestyle part of it was like for us, same concept. So I told my kids, because people ask us all the time, like, do your kids have a choice? I'm like, they have zero choice. So if they live here, they work here. Like, that's the thing that they have. And this was the only reason.
That's how I was raised.
Right. So I told them, here's the deal. One of the things that your wife or your husband or your future employee will thank us for is that you will know how to work.
Yeah.
You might never be on a farm and you might never use the skills, but you will understand hard work and you will understand the things that I can pass on to you that I can't pass on to you unless I'm working for you. Yeah. Right. And so people kind of were honest because they're like, well, you only spend time with your kids when they're out at work. And I'm like, well, at least I'm spending time with my kids.
Exactly.
And so there was this, I can transfer some of my values into the values of my children because I'm beside them, teaching them some of those things naturally because they're beside me. Right. So how important is that, whether it's farming or whether it's as a parent, how important is it for us to pass on a value system?
You don't have to be a farmer to be able to do a lot of that stuff, right? I mean, as soon as they start school anyway, all of our kids, we only get to see them a certain amount of time during the day anyway. So you don't have to be a farmer to teach them those things. I just think it's important for parents to, stay involved with their kids. I mean, you do have to teach them to work, but you also have to teach them to respect other people and respect life.
But don't you think the difference is, Michael? So for you, it's going to happen naturally, right? Because for you, your kids are there, they're going to work with you.
Right.
So for somebody like Nick who doesn't have a farm, right? Nick's going to have to be intentional. Like Nick's going to have to pick a time to go do something with his kids.
True.
Because it's values the same. You're right. So the one great thing about farming is like we should be intentional. We don't have to be as intentional because you got to come and do chores.
Yeah.
Like, so we are going to be together at parts of the week, regardless of whether you like it, because we're going to do it. And we don't even have to be as intentional where a father like Nick has to say, okay, now I have to go do this with my child. I have to plan it. And not that farmers shouldn't do the same thing, but it's an intentionality. But I guess what I'm getting at is we do believe, whether it's through farming or intentionality, spending time with our kids, that the influence of the parent should be the biggest influence in the life of a child.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why bring Roman to work?
Yeah.
He's just, I got to teach him those life skills.
Yeah, so Roman the dog that's
Roman
somewhere
the dog.
around here right now.
He's sleeping.
Yeah. I just don't want people to think that you have to have a farm to raise, good kids like that. I think, like what you said, I think you do just have to be intentional about what you're doing. And just because I'm there with my kids, it doesn't mean that they're actually going to turn out good. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, so let's just talk about that.
I mean, because a lot of times I'm busy, and to be honest with you, it'd be way easier for me just to do it myself than to try to teach my kids and even to get them out of the house to do it. I mean, to be honest, to get them out of the house to do stuff is almost impossible sometimes.
Why? Because of the phones? Just internet or what?
It's not. It's just human. It's human nature. I mean, if it's easier to be and more comfortable to be here, why would I want to go here? It's human nature. I think it goes way back to Adam and Eve. I think it's almost selfishness. Almost. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think selfishness is probably the root of a lot of problems in society. Yeah. Human selfishness. But I mean, if that's what it is, and it's hard. It's actually more work to actually have my kids come out and help me a lot of times just to get them out there and get them to do it. And I rarely force my kids to do something. I don't necessarily force them. I'm not saying it was right or wrong. I'm just saying they didn't have a choice. I don't think it's wrong because, like I said, I think if I can remember right, growing up, I think there was things that we had to do. Right. Like Dad gave me. He's like, "You're this old. This is your job. You got to do it every day." Like we had to do stuff like that. I'm a little more lenient. Maybe I'm getting soft. I don't know. Maybe that's the trouble with the generation. Maybe my generation's too soft on our kids, or I don't know.
There you go.
I don't know.
That is a thought. Well, or do we have any?
Maybe there isn't a problem with this generation because I think that probably we overanalyze things.
Well, do you think it's because the generation above you did they were strict and they made you do things, so you didn't want that for your child?
I think that's some of it. Yeah. I mean, it creates a lot of friction, and some of that friction, I think there was just too much of it. So you try to avoid that, and you try to reason through things and talk through things. But when it comes down to it, when I ask my kids to do something, eventually they're gonna have to do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make them. I'm their dad. All right. They need to know authority.
Yes.
And so they will eventually have to do it if I want them to do it. But
I think maybe this doesn't go, but back to what you guys were saying. Like, I think what's lost is there is not an expectation of our kids to become men and women of God, and we don't specifically put things in place to train them to be able to do it. Like generationally before, I mean, even when I grew up, like there was an expectation, like you will do that. I don't even care if you like it, where for me, the big struggle was, I don't know if I want to be kind of like that, where if you don't do something, your dad hits you over the head with a 2x4.
Right.
I mean, so what is going to be that balance? But I had to learn this early on. One of my biggest struggles is that when I am intentional, because forming a child into a man or woman of God creates great tension. Because it's unnatural.
Yeah.
It's unnatural. So we already know it's very unnatural. Kids naturally, back to what Michael said is true.
They'll go to the path of least resistance.
Kids naturally grow up to be selfish.
Yeah.
Unless you mold them into something else, right? I mean, that's what you were saying.
I mean, yeah.
So doing it is going to cause great tension. So I had to make a decision early on in raising my kids. Do I want men and women of God, or do I want friends? And so I made a decision. I don't care if they're my friend. Yeah. They don't ever have to be my friend. They might never like me at the end of this. But I think if I trust in what the Word of God says is if I do these things, that over time it will all work out. But I mean, it was tough because when the Clark kids came in, they told every person in the church we were slave drivers.
That would be tough.
My kids were, I mean, some of it, they just grew up with it. But when they had to get up at 6 a.m. to wean pigs before school.
It's one thing when it's your kids, but when it's somebody else's kids,
Yeah.
Well, they technically,
I just said you're
kids,
living in my house, because the other funny thing was is they got paid for some of the stuff, but some of it was you live here and
so
eat here,
and they've never
you need to
experienced
work
that.
here.
Yeah.
Like this is the way that it's going to work. Like you work for what you get. You don't get just because you're here.
Yeah.
You know. And again, regardless of what all that is, more of what I wanted to get to, Michael, is so as you're growing up and as you're going through this process, obviously, I mean, you grew up in a house of where faith was important. Is that fair to say? Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about that. How was faith for you growing up? And then how now have you worked together with Jamie to help your kids go through that or work through that?
Yeah. I mean, from what I can remember of it, we were always raised to be good Christian kids. I mean, Dad was always pretty strict about us going to church. And actually, we most of the time we actually enjoyed going to church. Mm-hmm. We were raised just like. I guess I have a weird perspective because, like, I lived in the country around a lot of kids that were raised the same way I was. So
why is that a weird perspective?
I just think that's because I don't think a lot of people have that perspective. I think but anyway, we went to church on Sunday, and then we weren't. We worked during the week, and that was what it was. And
like everybody in the church did the same thing. Like
no, they were mostly. Most of the people had other jobs, worked factories or management.
But you're saying most of the kids you spent time with,
they were raised
weren't the ones like me.
What do you mean, like you?
When I was a kid, there wasn't nothing about morality or
I couldn't get away with any of that. I came from a really strict home. Okay, I mean it was strict.
So you weren't hanging out with anybody like me.
No, he wouldn't have been your friend.
Well,
you'd have picked a different guy.
I just probably couldn't have. Yeah.
So you grew up with that. So now let's translate it into you get kids, you're raising kids. How because we want to learn from you, good and bad, like in raising kids, what are some of the things that you've instituted?
Honestly, I don't know what to tell you. I just, I mean, we just, the way we raise our kids, we took them to church, just like I took them.
Right,
I was taken to church.
Right, so you just
they learned God from what was preached on Sunday morning or what was taught in Sunday school class, and they also learned it from their parents because they seen it in their parents, in me and Jamie,
right?
And the way we did things, and the way we listened, and the way we obeyed, and they also saw all our flaws,
right?
But
you made church a priority.
Yeah, we had that. I think that's
regardless
really
of whether they were learning or not, you were going.
Well, they're seeing it in both places. I think that's important too. Not only are they just going, but they're seeing it at home.
Yeah, they're seeing it at home through us, and like I said, they see all our flaws, and when we screw up, then if it's a big screw up, then, they see that, and then they can see how we deal with it and how we come around. And
because it's obviously working. I mean, Kim and Kate drive by themselves and come at 9:00 service.
They do.
That's what I'm saying. They come, they sit in the front row, they pay attention. So I'm saying regardless, because there is no easy answer, right? No. We're not looking for this easy answer. But one of the things you said is you just carried on the tradition of saying, we're going to go. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're going to make church a priority.
You have to go to the right church. That's one of the worst things that I think we deal with now is like when you tell somebody or somebody that's going to church, the devil's done a really good job of dividing Christians into all these different denominations and things. And some of that stuff is just, it's just messed up. So anyway, you got to go to the right one. And I mean, so me and my wife, we did that for them, but then we take them with us, and they always sat with us in the pew. We never really sent them to Sunday school or whatever. We did a little bit. We even taught Sunday school for a while, but but most of the time my kids sat in the pew with us, so they learned to sit in church, and they picked up what they could learn from that. And like I said, I think they just learn from their parents more than anything else. So
even if it's just habits. Yeah, I watched the habit of we are going to go to church. Right. We are going to go.
And you learn when you're at church. I mean, and you learn in the Bible there. And I mean, and it gets to be a routine and a habit. And nobody complains. They just go. And And we like it.
Right. So talk about one of the greatest challenges of being a father and greatest challenges of being a husband.
Being a father is the hardest job I've ever had. And that says a lot because I've had some pretty hard jobs.
I think what you do is hard.
But there's some pretty tough jobs I've had.
Okay, what's the number one?
Oh, my gosh. So leveling silos in July.
Ooh.
When they're blowing haylage down on top of you at the top of the silo.
Have you ever seen those things?
And it's
those big silos?
With corn in them?
It's full of heat and you're under an aluminum roof.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
So they put silage in it, which is like chopped up corn stalks and hay and
chopped up hay. Yeah. It's dusty. It's filthy. It sticks to you.
And it's dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Way up in the air.
You see all those big silos. I mean, they fill them to the top. And people had to be a part of leveling them as you put it in.
There's a distributor at the top that circulates. And when the wagon at the bottom's unloaded, it's blowed up with a tractor that blows it up a chute, around a curve, down onto a distributor that turns, that blows it to the outside of the silo.
Okay.
So when we're leveling, Dad used to I don't want to throw my dad under the bus. He was up there too. Yeah. He was in there with us, but me and my brother and my dad, and it was like, you keep up or you get buried because you get pushed up to the outside.
Which is really dangerous. I mean, people have getting killed.
And you sweat out, completely sweat out, and there's not much fresh air. The fresh air comes up through the same tube that the haylage comes up through.
Oh, wow.
And the in and out door is up in the air. A lot of times you had to be boosted out. And it's when you do come out, you come out on a platform that's probably like 18 inches by 30 inches.
And you're up 50 feet
50 feet on the side of a curved piece of concrete.
Oh, my God.
That was built in 1979 or 78. One of them was made in 69.
Yeah. So for sure, hard job. What do you think the biggest challenge of being a father is?
Being a father is just being patient. Patience is so hard.
Yeah.
I think I could have had 4 or 5 kids if I had more patience. I just didn't have the patience. When we had our son, it took all of my patience and more patience than I even had than I had, and I've just done. I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, so patience. What about a husband? Greatest challenge of being a husband?
Oh, that's pretty easy. I thought being a husband was pretty easy.
Oh, so it's not easy. There's no challenges.
There's challenges because I mean, my wife's highly motivated and she likes to take control. So she's a
go-getter. She comes from a farming family too.
Yeah, she'll run it all.
Yeah.
If you let her, and she likes to take control, and sometimes I think I wish she'd just back off a little bit. Yeah, but she's really helpful, and being a husband's actually been fairly easy for me.
How long have you guys been together?
How long did you date?
21 years. We got married in 2001, I think.
So how old were you guys then?
How old were you when you got married?
How old was I? 24, 25.
Where'd you guys meet at?
After my brother's graduation, I ran into her at Dairy Queen, and she was with one of her friends. And I was with my brother.
With a dilly bar.
Wow.
They shared a dilly bar.
Oh, that's so cute.
Well, we didn't share no dilly bar.
What were you sharing?
Nothing.
You just take a bite, the whole romantic.
It was a mutual friend.
They were sipping out of a Mr. Misty together.
Yes.
If that's what you want to think, and that pretty picture in your head, then
that makes a great romantic picture.
It is romantic.
Yeah, you guys are sitting at the DQ sipping on Mr. Misty's together. 2 straws.
Sharing flavors.
Then you just happen to go up and you're both going for the straw at the same time.
I think
your lips touched, and your lips touch, and you're like, I just know I want to marry you. That's not how it went.
It really wasn't like that. I think she turned me down the first time, but I asked again.
Yeah, so you guys have been together
like 21 years. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about you.
Which makes me think I missed our 20th anniversary. That's what I'm thinking. If I did, she didn't say anything.
Yeah, because that's a big...
edit that part out.
Yeah. she knew. She's stewing about it. Now she's like, when he gets home, does she listen to the podcast?
I'm sure she will now.
Okay. Oh, she'll listen to this one.
Yeah, she will.
I think I had a whole bunch of people on their edge of their seat when they found out I was going in here.
I know.
Really?
I just have so much dirt dirt on people.
No.
You know?
Yeah, so let's talk about you. So again, now you're a man working through, you obviously have children, you're a husband, but also like you got a lot of things going on in your life. So talk about a little of you're a jiu-jitsu man, you're a...
That's amazing.
I did some jiu-jitsu. I just started it early this spring.
Okay, all you jiu-jitsu people are so like, I just started. I'm not that good.
Yeah, I could break your arm tomorrow. Yeah. Like if you walked in this room in 2 seconds, I could like take your arm and put it in a different position.
But I can get you on the ground. I do remember that.
It is restraint. I know that jiu-jitsu is not forceful. It's just containing the subject.
Yeah,
and breaking your arm.
It's supposed to be a gentle art.
It is gentle.
There's a lot of it's actually extremely painful.
I know it is.
Because we do jiu-jitsu on each other.
Yeah.
And it hurts.
Yeah.
It just looks gentle because you're not throwing any punches.
Yeah, I guess it's true.
You just get him in those positions, then beat the tar out of them.
Or choke them to death.
Or
actually,
run.
you're just trying to shut the blood off to the brain.
Don't choke them to death. Just say get all the circulation out. Yeah, so talk to us about some stuff you're passionate about, some things going on in your life right now. What is some things going on in the life of Michael Schroll?
I work, eat, sleep, and in the meantime, I swim and lift weights.
That is not true.
That
you're passionate about. So what are you passionate about? Like what are the things that get you like fired up?
Well, you like Mike listen to audiobooks too, right?
Yeah. So I listen to that. That's ancient Roman history.
Ancient Roman history. I'm not going to talk about
all the stuff that I got soapboxes, but I'm not going to get on them now.
Pick one.
I know. Just give us one
soapbox.
Just one soapbox.
I mean, I could pick 1,000 soapboxes.
What's ancient Roman? What is that about?
No, that's not one of my soapboxes. Okay. I just enjoy listening to that while I'm milking.
I didn't know that's a thing.
Yeah.
You didn't know the ancient Roman civilization was
I did know.
It's a big deal. That's actually it started way before Jesus was even
I didn't
born.
know. Is it a podcast?
No, it's a lecture by a professor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the books he's listening to.
Oh wow, that sounds great.
It's like a 22-hour lecture. I listen to it all the time.
That sounds terrible.
Oh, it's amazing. But you know what? I can't tell you much about it because it's all in Latin and everybody has 3 or 4 names.
Like the books in Latin. Wait a second.
Why?
Well, it's translated to English, but
just,
their names and places,
It's just soothing. It just drowns the noise. Because sometimes I listen to things I'm not really listening to.
Really?
But
it's not like white
I'm just
noise
there.
to me.
Okay.
I learn a lot from it.
But you just said you did.
Give us one thing you learned.
Yes,
like
one
what
fact.
is a big takeaway from ancient Roman civilization?
Well, you told me
I think that the country we live in will eventually go the way the Romans went.
Yeah. Which is?
I think it'll eventually end up in a dictatorship or an empire.
That's scary. Yeah. Savages.
I don't want to get on any soapboxes.
Why?
But you can
jump right up.
No, you can learn a lot from the past. And I mean, I'm not talking. Most people, when they think of the past, they think of the 40s. They think of the wars like Hitler and stuff. I'm talking about the ancient history. I'm talking about BC. I'm talking like the 3rd and 4th and 5th century.
So they're just history is naturally going to repeat itself. Is that what you're saying?
I think that I think it probably will in a lot of ways. I mean, I think you see it a lot in government now, and I think people are becoming even more selfish and less honorable. And I think there's only so much you can do with laws when there's too many people that are selfish and do for themselves. And I think when I'm saying that, I'm talking about the politicians. I don't particularly think that any of them are honest on both sides of the aisle. And I think that if you look back in history, I think you've seen a lot of that the Romans dealt with. I mean, they went through the Regency period, and then they went into the Republic, and then they eventually ended up into an empire, which was like a dictatorship. And that all happened through people not honoring the ways that they eventually had. They eventually started. They eventually decided that they wanted to have their way, so rather than go through the right channels, they decided to bribe, kill, or threaten to get what they wanted. And eventually you got the collapse, the Roman Revolution, the collapse of that. And it turns into an empire.
Yeah, but put it into today's terms for our listeners. Because there ain't very many people listening to 22-hour lectures on the Roman history.
You see that. You see that you see that in government today. You see a lot of what we have in the way our system works today is a lot like, it's weird to say, but it's a lot like the way the Romans were. They had a Senate and they voted, and their Senate was a little bit different than ours. But I mean, you got to have honesty, and I think you got to have transparency, but you got to have honor and morals. And I think that because humans are naturally so selfish, I think that over time we tend to aggress away from what started out as being such a good thing to almost regressing into something that we don't want it to be. And I think when it gets to that point, I think people are going to look for answers, and the person that can give them the most, because what people always seem to want is something that they don't earn. And governments always seem like they always try to coax votes by giving people what they didn't earn. And people will vote for that even if it's not good for the republic. And I think that's what you eventually will end up with, is a dictatorship. And I think a dictatorship actually could be good. I think there are good dictators. Okay, I knew you'd laugh at me. I think there are, but most of them
there are good dictators.
They eventually will end up bad. All right, they're going to throw a lot of people under the bus.
Yeah.
And
wait. We gotta. I gotta hear
what is in the Roman time. Okay, so
no, forget the Roman. Like, tell me what a good. So, how would dictatorship in the United States?
I didn't say I wanted a dictatorship.
You said it would be good, though.
I did not say that. I said you can't have good dictators as in a person.
Oh, okay.
I didn't say dictatorship would be good. I think that that's the wrong direction. I mean, I don't want that. I mean, if I said that, that's not what I meant.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah,
because I want you to think through this.
I'm no scholar sitting here. All right?
No, but I want to put hard questions. No, I want to put it back to something that you said. So, because I would agree with this. I think part of the problem in culture today is that people want something without earning it.
That's exactly right. And as soon as they figure out,
and we're mad about
that's a good statement.
That, right?
Right.
Well, but we teach that to our children from a young age.
Oh, it's all about you on the news, the celebrities.
But that's
it's
my
about
point.
You being happy.
So why? So here's the other part about it. We only know history repeats itself unless something changes, right? Revolutions change history or change the course of history. So part of the problem, I think, is twofold. We're looking down the pipe and we're saying, you know what part of the problem with America is today is everybody wants something for nothing. And that's ridiculous, is we want everything from the government. Well, you realize in raising your children, you're the government. You've taught them, and I'm not saying you, I'm saying in general, children today are taught you don't really have to earn anything, pay for anything, or do anything. It's a free ride here. And you can go to college and I'll sign for your student loan and you don't have to pay for anything there. And then all of a sudden they get out there and they realize, holy crap, this is why I think people stay in school all the time. Like, I think we have career people in school because when you get out of school, then you have to go to this, holy crap, somebody else has got to, I can't take care of myself. So my question is, what can we do differently? Like, if you were trying to give advice to people, because don't you think it comes from, don't you think the reason people are that way or want things that way is because that's the way they were brought up?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of worthless parents is what I think it is, if I'm going to say the truth. I mean, if you're wondering why your kids are worthless, maybe you ought to look in the mirror. I think that's what I want to say.
That's what you just did say.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean then. I mean, come on. You wonder why your kid's having trouble in school and beating Jimmy up or whatever, or maybe that was the way he was raised.
Yeah. So, I think a lot of that has to do with parents.
I mean,
yeah, and again, because I want to try to figure out, because I think this is the most important thing. So what are we going to do different? So what needs to change? Like, if we could look at it today and we could pick a few things, Michael, like if you could pick a few things, back to your soapboxes. Like, if you could pick a couple things, because there's nothing wrong to have a soapbox.
No.
Like, I got 100 of them that I'll jump on and talk about. But what are some of those things that could bring about change? Like, what are some of the things that really need to change in our world today that, from your viewpoint, if we did it, if this changed or if this changed, or maybe Jenny, maybe you have something, if this changed or this changed, what would it be that would make such a difference?
Gosh, I don't know. Can we even change? We talk about change all the time. Every generation talks about change, but whether it's whether we can or not, I don't know. It just seems like we move along and we change with, how do you want to say it? I keep wanting to say technology, but it's not just all technology. It's our living environment. It's our surroundings. As that changes, that causes people to change. You know, we live an easier life. I live an easier life than my father, and he lives an easier life than his father. And I would say that the living conditions, no better way of saying it than that, I guess, that I can think of, have made a big difference in their lives. It's allowed them to change, and it's allowed me to change. And maybe that's why I'm not as hard on my kids as my dad was, as hard as my dad was on me, is because my life's easier. So I don't have to be as hard on my kids, I guess.
That's a really good point, actually.
I don't know that. I mean, the obvious thing would just be to be less selfish and more giving. All right. Be more humble. The obvious thing would be, you know, to learn what God wants us to do, you know, go by what God tells us. But we've been saying that over and over again for how long? And I think we got to keep saying it. And I don't think you'll ever get everybody, but I think it does make a difference. And I think that's probably why where we're at now is because of that, because of the Christian people. I think things would be a whole lot worse if there wasn't Christian people. So the idea that there isn't any in this country, that's not true. That there's definitely a lot of love from God on this country for sure.
Right. Yeah. So foundationally, you're saying, like, give the example of living a selfless life to our young people or to the people around us. Like, that would be helpful. Like, if you're going to give a recommendation, you know, to our listeners and say, like, if there's one thing, again, because when I say implementing change, like, you can only do so much, right? But you can do something. Like, and maybe this is just the right or wrong perspective for me. Like, I believe that God using me, that I can change the world. Like, I think I can change the world. Like, I think that...
I do too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I am very optimistic that if I listen to him and do what he asks me to do, that the world will change. And so I'm always like, God, give me a perspective, or help me see what you want, or let's go through these things. Because I'm like a firm believer that God wants the world to change, and that it changes through one person at a time. And so part of your advice would be is that listen to God and live selflessly and help other people see that same thing, right? Like that, because that is going to institute change.
It will.
Right? Like, if you start doing those things.
That's right.
Yeah. Jenny, anything you got?
I don't think I really have anything other than, I mean, first of all, I want to go back to that. Like, it's so interesting because you do hear, like, the older generation complain about the younger generation. Like, oh, you have it so easy. And that's just, they heard that. And I just never really connected those pieces. But I don't know what.
Meaning that you're saying connecting the pieces. So Michael said
that
he's
would be a
probably not
reason.
as hard on. And so then when Gabe and Kim and Kate grow up, they're not going to be as hard on. So you think it's like this generational thing because life is becoming easier that they don't have to be as hard?
Yeah. I just thought that was interesting.
You know what I think's interesting? Let me throw this out there. So the guy I bought wood from, did I already tell you this story?
No. But maybe, but keep going.
Yeah. Well, the guy I bought wood from, you know, because I'm all about, like, I love the idea of going back to the simple way and working harder. Like, I would much rather burn wood in my house. I would much rather cut wood to burn wood. I would much rather go out and kill the cow and skin it or kill a deer. Like, I would love to be like a hunter-gatherer. Like, that's something for me personally. That's like knowing that I don't have to depend on a grocery store. Knowing that I don't have to depend on the propane company. Like, there's something, I don't know if that's right or wrong, but that's something about me. But to be able to get that done, it takes a lot of work, right? To be able to go down that road. So anyway, I thought it was interesting because the wood guy, like, he was trying to do this, 5-6 years ago, and he only had a few clients. In the past couple of years, he's up to like 275 clients now, and supporting 6 kids on cutting wood and delivering it to people's houses. Because he thinks people are going back, like, to that simpler lifestyle, even harder. Not simpler, it's harder, but not being so busy that you don't have time to cut your wood, you don't have time to process your food, you don't have time. Do you think it is, or do you think it's not? Are you good? Do you need apple juice?
I'm good.
Okay. I was just checking. I saw you check your thing. So I want to make sure I'm like helping the process.
No, it's the coffee was making me shaky.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure we're
I
good.
checked my sugar, but it's the coffee. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that we're going back to the simpler lifestyle.
No?
It seems like more of a.
Do you think it's not going that way?
I don't think so. No.
Wait, that guy thinks that we're going back to the simpler
Well,
way?
obviously he went from like 50 clients to 260 to
Well,
burning
I would
wood
say
now.
the opposite because I feel like we're not going back to because they're making it simpler for having somebody else do it.
Yeah.
But that's not really. I don't know. Like the
When I say
simpler.
simpler, less dependent. Maybe that's the better word.
Less dependent.
Less dependent upon
think-
government, less dependent upon grocery stores, less dependent
Okay.
upon.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, how much of like what Michael said, like how much of government law, if you're self-sufficient, affects you?
Not a lot.
Right. Not a lot.
Well, the Amish.
Huh?
The Amish, don't
What about
the
'em?
laws not aren't they like in a different community?
Well, I mean, again, like there's still law out there, but again, do they care whether the grocery store has bread?
Right.
I mean, do they care whether the grocery store has meat? I mean,
Exactly.
they get their own stuff, because we have a lot of like now supply chain interruptions, things that are going on that like are affecting us so much.
Pumpkin
and for them, they're
shortage.
like
Pumpkin shortage. I didn't know about that one.
There's a pumpkin shortage.
concrete
worried.
shortage.
There's
yeah.
a concrete shortage?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, there is a concrete
Wow.
shortage.
But the point is, maybe you're right. Maybe it's not this idea that they're going back to simpler. Maybe people are trying to figure out how to be less dependent and more self-sufficient.
Yeah,
inside of that. So I don't know. Maybe it is or isn't, but yeah.
Some of the stuff's actually brought on by government policy. Like I've heard from reputable sources that concrete shortage was brought on by some government policy. So
By Biden, let's just put it out there.
Yeah,
Whether
yeah.
you like Biden or not. Here's the
don't-
deal. He made the EPA,
He probably forgot he did it too.
right? So yes, fire him
That
up,
was a
Jenny.
good one.
Come on,
Yes.
Jenny. Get him going.
Listen, I told my parents, I'm like, this will be the first year when it's 2024 that I'm going to vote
Yes.
ever.
Straight ticket.
Oh, I'm going to take pictures and everything. Yes.
I
Pictures
don't
of
even know
what?
if you can do that.
I don't know.
No, straight
Document-
ticket. You know what I'm talking
No,
about?
I don't.
Like you go up there and you can vote straight ticket Republican.
Right.
You
Say
can
it.
just pull it.
You don't say it. Like you have to actually punch
That would be
something.
cool.
Yeah, you punch it, and
Okay.
it like all the Republicans that are in there, you voted for all of them
That's
instead
cool.
of going through individually. And
Yep, I'm going to do that.
Atta
One hit
girl.
wonder.
Make sure that you take a picture of you voting.
I'm pretty sure.
'Cause
Isn't
everybody
that,
that's
isn't that
listening
illegal?
to this pod, huh?
In the pod or in
In the pod.
in the whatever it's called.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I mean, you're only taking a picture of your own ballot,
That's
so
true.
I don't think it would.
Yeah, you
matter.
just need to take a picture before you walk in the pod.
I just
just
need-
in case that way somebody didn't come knocking on your door as federal agents are here to arrest Jenny Walker the first time she voted and she's going to end up in jail, for that.
That's amazing.
Yeah. All right, Jenny, so we're at the end. Some
Whoa,
questions.
we are? Okay.
Did that seem like it went fast?
It did.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
did.
saying. We've already
Yeah.
in an hour and 5 minutes. So,
Time flies.
Cruise
and we didn't
right
even get
along.
half the stuff out. See,
I
that means it's
know.
going to have to come back on again.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll have to be a
The
repeat
second time
guest.
will even be better than the first.
Oh, yeah. No,
So-
it's... Okay,
Oh, always.
questions.
Okay. Questions. So with the questions, I thought it would be nice to explain it before we do
got
it.
it. Yeah,
So I
good.
send out texts every week and explain who's going to be on the podcast. And then we want you to engage and interact and ask anything that you would want from the guest, which I think is super cool.
Yeah.
All right. So Tammy Little, her question is,
What's your favorite Bible verse?
Is that what it is?
Tammy, hi. This is Tammy Little. My question is, what is your favorite Bible verse and why?
Say it.
Yeah,
Go ahead and
okay,
say it,
so
Michael.
I-
Say it.
What
Just
did you
say
say
it.
in the beginning?
Say what you said right from the start.
If you want me to be honest,
Yes.
I don't read the Bible enough to have a favorite Bible verse.
That's not what I meant.
Okay.
You said from the beginning. You want to know what the hardest, weirdest question is? When somebody asks you what your favorite favorite Bible verse is.
Yeah, because they've got alternative motives. That's all I'm saying.
He's saying
it's
the alternative motive
They
is to point out
want to see
that,
if
like,
you're honest enough.
maybe I'm not reading enough scripture.
It's not like I didn't know that somebody was going to ask that question, so I could have, lied and picked one out. But I just decided.
Did you pick one?
Yeah, which one?
Because I'm not going to lie. I don't have
really
one.
don't have
There's a lot
one?
of good ones. I don't have one.
There you go.
Okay.
Not a way to be honest, Mike.
Yeah.
When you get me, you get pretty much with me. I mean,
Yes.
So.
Okay.
Anonymous.
Ooh.
What is your dog's name?
What?
What is my dog's name?
What is your dog's name?
It was in
Tucker.
the picture.
Yes.
Tucker.
Yes.
Oh, Tucker.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a
That's from Jenny.
premium-
It is.
premium dog.
I knew
It
it.
was from me.
Jenny, when you got the worst lying face of everybody I've ever
I
seen.
do.
You're like,
I'm such a bad
did you see
liar.
how she looked at you? She looked
No,
at
I
you and
didn't.
she's like,
Probably. I'm so
Anonymous.
I'm
bad.
going to pay more attention.
No, I'm a bad liar.
Okay, here we go.
All right. Ray Ann wants to know what brought you to Life Church.
That is a good question.
That's a good
I don't even
question.
know that answer.
We were looking for another church, and my brother's family was going here.
Is Zach and Mandy the first one who came?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, their son Levi, which is my brother's oldest son, came here with his girlfriend.
Way to
Okay.
go, Levi.
Right. He brought the whole
From
fam.
that, everybody else came. I mean, from one way or another, for various reasons, we all followed. And yes, so that's what brought me to Life Church. I guess was, word of mouth, family. Yeah. Yep.
So if Levi didn't come, do you think you would have met Sarah? Because, I mean, you already knew her.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
No, he didn't know her.
So
They
do you
didn't know
think
each
that would have
other.
happened? You should be thanking Levi.
Shout out to Levi.
Yeah,
Way
go
to go,
Levi.
Levi. Yeah. Well, I mean, Zach and Mandy had invited, and I told you this, Sarah came with one of her other boyfriends.
Yes.
She did?
Yeah.
I learned something new every day.
Yeah, Sarah brought Brett to church.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did she?
And she brought him to church, And
Does he
then-
come to church still? Does he come to church?
Did she or he?
He.
No, he lives somewhere
Oh,
else.
okay. She just brought him.
Yeah.
Probably not a chance.
But anyway, so yeah, then Zach and Mandy had invited, and maybe you guys did too, but I just hear Zach and Mandy had invited Sarah and him to come, you know. So Sarah was coming. She wasn't coming that long before. Like she came after you guys came, right?
No, she came before.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, I think I really like that preacher.
Yes, let's get the behind the scenes. She said that?
Yeah, she
That's
said
so
that.
Cute.
I thought, my gosh, only my sister would say something like that. I mean, come on.
But look at him now.
Yeah, look at him
Look
now.
at him now.
Look
Yeah.
at him now.
Yeah.
But I think it was an instant attraction with
Aw.
her. So, because that's what I remember her saying that. You know how we talk at our family
I know.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we all thought that was funny because I'm like, come on, Sarah.
Because that was before,
it.
like way before. Or was that wouldn't be way before. Was that like right around the
That
time?
was before she didn't know him. She didn't know his
That's so
name. She
cute.
never
Yeah.
talked to him, nothing.
You
Yeah,
guys
and
are
I think
like,
Sherry had
they
been
were
gone like a
strangers.
couple months, and she had come
Oh.
on and off, and then then she started coming more on a regular basis. And then when Ethan got baptized,
Yep.
so
I
I
actually, that might have been the first time we came. Was
Oh,
Ethan.
really?
oh, to see
Yeah,
him.
I think actually I told you wrong. I think now that you say that, I think we came to see Ethan get baptized. That was the first time we came.
That would make sense.
Yes.
did you ever have like when you came, you're like, ugh.
We liked it. We thought it was a nice fresh change from where we came, and I mean, we can relate to people here, and I like the atmosphere. I like the building. I like the idea of the building and using it all week long. I like the gym. I like the cafe out there. I think that more churches should take that path.
Yeah.
I think renting the rooms. Yeah, I think it's awesome. Yeah, I like the whole deal. Yep.
Yeah, good. That it?
No, I have a question though.
Oh.
Are all of your siblings tall?
All but my youngest sister.
Really? What's her height?
6'3".
No. She's definitely under 6 feet tall. I don't know how tall
Like
she is.
5'9"?
Yeah, probably. I don't want to throw her under the bus and say like 5'4" or something, but she's shorter. She takes more
That's
after
really
my mother.
short.
Yeah. She's taller than that. She's probably more like 5'.
Well, I'm still trying to figure out. It's not like your dad's a giant.
Well, how tall is your dad?
He's 6 feet tall.
Oh, wow.
So where did all these giants come
I know.
from?
Isn't that interesting?
I know the Schroll line has been small. And then
you guys
me,
came.
I'm the biggest one. My grandma was Schroll was a Wilcox, and they're all tall. Well, my mom's side, my mom was a Larson, and her dad's family is tall because I met one of his sisters, and she's huge.
Oh.
So we could have got some height from either one of those families.
Got it.
Yeah.
It was just in the gene pool.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Doug Bragg. He would like to know, farming can be tough work with weather and lots of other things affecting the crop yields. Wait, fields. Should I say fields?
Or yields.
Oh, yields
Could be
is the
either way.
thing?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like what you get from your crops is the yield.
Okay.
What it yields.
I thought that was a mess up. Crop yields. Okay, livestock, etc. How does God sustain you through those ups and downs? Also, what's your favorite music when working?
Ooh, that's a good one.
That is a good question.
Because this farming can be stressful.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah.
How does God sustain us? God does what he promised he would do. And he gives us the strength to handle anything, really. I mean, not
And
just
is that
farming,
really like-
but in life.
But when it gets bad, Michael, do you
Yeah.
really like lean into that? Like, hey, I got to trust him because we're out of control. Because
When
that's the thing
it's-
about farming.
when
It's
it's-
out of control.
Yeah.
It's like a stages with me. You know, when things kind of start to get bad, I'll actually get mad at God. But when things totally fall to pieces and I don't have nowhere else to turn, I always lean on God.
Yeah.
And he's always there. All right.
Awesome.
So that's how God sustains us. I always have him. He's always got my back.
Yeah. Good.
Yep.
that.
What was the other part of that
Music
question?
genre.
Music. Favorite music to listen to?
Are you country? Are you rock?
I have been country this fall. It changes. It's not rock.
This fall, are you a rapper?
No.
Oh, not
I don't know
ever.
what-
Not even through the winter?
No.
What are you talking about? For
Okay,
the
so-
Super Bowl, you dressed up like a rapper.
I did.
He
yeah.
did.
Oh, see, that's why I said they love that kind of stuff.
They
like
dress
all-
up?
Oh, and they did
yeah,
it.
we
It
can
was
Is that what you
awesome.
asked about
It's
Halloween?
fun.
Yeah, so what
We
did
had
you
the
dress up
grills
like?
and
Yeah,
the
like you had it
hair
all.
and like
Oh
the
my
chains. We were
gosh.
rappers.
Yes.
They're like 50
Hilarious.
cents. You know, I like some rap. I like 50 cents.
Yeah.
I like some of those guys. But yeah, I listen to I like Ed Sheeran is one that comes to mind.
Oh, yeah. That's a good
he's
one.
cool. I like that kind of music.
Play a fiddle in an Irish
Oh, I was
No, it
thinking
wasn't that
all
one.
of me.
Yeah, that one too.
That one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I like stuff they play on 97.3. I like 95.1 Magic.
You listen
that
to
kind
the
of
radio?
music. Yeah, I listen to some.
I didn't know anybody listened to the radio anymore.
I do listen to the radio.
I listen to the radio
sometimes.
sometimes.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought everybody listened to music on their phone.
I mean, in my car sometimes.
Oh, I have a Spotify account, so I got some stuff on there. But yeah, I like that kind of music. So
Yeah, good.
Yep.
Any more?
And those are the questions.
All right. So
Easy.
again, yeah. So Michael, thank you for being
Yeah.
on. Thank you for taking time to share a little bit about your life and having an opportunity to share with our audience, some of your wisdom and growing up and the things that, you're doing now. And again, we just appreciate what you're doing and how you're being a part of Life Church and the things you're doing with your family. And yeah, we look forward to, continue to watch God use you and moving in directions as we move forward. So,
Yeah.
So thank you for being here.
yeah, thank you, Mike and Jenny. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so
Yes.
Jenny, give us our
Yes.
parting. Make sure here's your
Yep.
number.
My phone number at the bottom of the screen. So, like I said, when we ask the questions and I send the text out, but also it can be in reverse. So you can send us, if you want to be a guest, if you know a guest, if you have questions, really anything. We want it to be an open line and communicate with you. But the number is 260-408-8383.
Still amazed that you can do that.
Thank
you
you.
don't even have to look at the screen anymore.
Well, I've been to jail, and you have to remember a lot of numbers. So it just becomes easy.
Oh, and we have to put it out. The Bears won last night, so as a party, this hardly ever
That's why
happens.
he's
The
wearing the
Chicago
Bears shirt.
Bears. stayed up late, which is a terrible idea. You know, the game gets over like 11:30. My alarm goes off at 4 o'clock. I
Wow.
thought I was going to die.
Well, who would have thought they were going to win?
Oh, I know. Because I first told Sarah, it's like, I'm going to watch the first half. I'll be mad by halftime, so I'll be home. Because she doesn't have ESPN. So I'm like, I'll only make it to halftime before I get ticked off. And I'm like, wow,
They just
like
kept
this could be a
going.
game, and they're playing
it was the
well.
Patriots, wasn't
yeah,
it?
they beat the Patriots.
Yeah, I
like
mean,
things are going
that's-
good, and I'm like,
That's awesome.
yes. So
Was
we can
this
all
their first game of the season?
Huh?
Was this their first game? Is that a joke? Is that funny?
They've been
The
playing for a while.
NFL season has been going on for a while.
Okay, so why is this such a surprise? Because they've never won, like ever.
The Patriots
The
are a
Bears
decent
have
team.
had a struggle over these past few years of being consistently decent, and they're 2-4.
Okay.
And they've just flat out said, like, we're rebuilding, so we're getting rid of people and even trading away good people. And if we lose this entire year, nobody cares. And I mean, I think they care.
Right.
You know, so when they go against the Patriots, who for the last 2 weeks have been just killing people.
Well, the
And
Patriots have always
So you're
been
saying
good.
it doesn't say much for the Patriots. That's what you're saying.
yeah.
If they got crashed, smashed by the Bears.
Yes, if you got beat by the Bears, somebody better look up. Or it just says
They've gotten really
the
good.
Bears have turned the corner.
Yeah.
Maybe
what I'm
that's
saying.
I hope they have.
Oh,
I mean,
know.
yeah.
There was nothing better as the best weekend
That's a good
ever
comeback.
because the Packers got beat.
Three
and the
times,
Bears,
3 games in a row,
No,
right?
I know,
They
like-
lost 3 games in a row.
I know, it's the best thing ever, and the Bears won. Yeah, so for all the Packers fans, and now the Bears
all
fans
the football
win.
people are happy.
Again, thanks for joining us, and again, thanks you guys that are out there that are either watching or listening. Just remember, so we're trying to expand our influence. So one of the ways that you can help us is if you go on and when Jenny puts out a clip with Michael's podcast and you see it online, share it with other people. We'd love for you to be able to share it because remember, one of the big reasons that we switched up the podcast is we want you to relationally get to know the other people of the church. So it's an opportunity if you're out there and you're listening, take the time. You know how we talked about selfishness? You know,
Yeah.
some people are like, well, I don't know. And well, you should just listen because it's good to get to know people.
Right,
Right. And so
right.
we'd love for you to listen, love for you to share it. If you're on YouTube, make sure that you comment. You know, we'd love to hear your comments. Again, it gives us more of an opportunity for a reach. So make sure you go out there and you comment on the podcast, put questions on them. Jenny will be following up with you to be able to address them or to be able to have that conversation. Because again, we think long term, we believe that this forum, podcasts, have done significant change in the world today, you know, where people get tidbits or people learn from people and take that wisdom and change the things that are going on in life. So we'd love to be a part of that. And again, love to be a part of that journey. So again, thanks everybody for joining us and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.